Our Heavenly Father, we lift our hearts filled with love to your presence this evening. We ask that you cleanse us of all past negation and that you make us open and receptive for your word and your truth to come into our hearts, into our minds. Thank you, Father. Eluha, good evening, my beloveds. It is indeed a pleasure to be with you this evening, and it is good to see these new ones here. And I would have you to know that there are many, many invisibles that are with you this evening, filling your empty spaces. Our talk tonight is a very important one, and I would have you to pay close attention and take it to heart. We have entitled this talk, Believing in Yourself. Have you sometimes felt that the physical plane had you by the throat and was pulling you down, or was giving you too much pain, and you did not know what to do with it? Many, many on your plane feel this way. They feel despair, and they know not what to do. I would explain to you about your physical plane so that you who are reaching for growth and understanding will be able to at least understand a little bit of what you're dealing with. When you are working from the physical surface with just the 5 physical senses, you are looking through a cloud darkly. You are looking through the negative, fear-filled thoughts of many centuries, of millions of inhabitants of your planet, that they have left this debris here, and it is difficult for you to rise above this, especially when you are confronted with pain, with disappointment, and different things that come into your life through your experiences. I would have you to know that you do have help, and I would remind you to take advantage of this help. When you feel despair, when you feel down and not able to rise above it, I would ask you to allow yourself to give up trying with the physical, and release yourself to God and send love to your teachers and your guides from this side of the veil. When you do this, then you stop struggling with trying to rise above the different things from a physical self that has no power. Realize that within your conscious physical self, your little self, you have no power. But through your God self, you have all power. This you have been told many times, but you need to be reminded sometimes of these things, and so that you can follow through and remember. It is good to come to the classes and get the understanding, but the real test is when you are in the world and going through whatever you're doing and come up against these things that seem to disturb you and how you handle it. If you learn to believe in yourself, in your true self, the God self of you, then you have a much better advantage of dealing with this physical plane. You have a much greater advantage of growing while you are here. Remember that it is purposely set up the way it is, this play on a stage you call Earth, to give you the opportunities for growth that most people call trouble and problems. And when these so-called tests, trials, and tribulations come your way, then when you can know within yourself immediately that you need not struggle with this from your physical, conscious little self. When you do, this causes pain at times. It also causes disillusionment because you have no power from this point of view. When you can allow yourself to give up from the physical level and release to the higher self, to the God within you, and ask for help, and then turn your thoughts away from the problem. It is not easy for you to do this when you are having pain, whether it be emotional pain or physical pain or whatever, because you are used to having your attention on the problem. This comes as a habit pattern. It is a long-standing habit pattern for most on this plane. When they feel pain, when they feel they have been let down, or that life is working against them, to concentrate on the problem. And you see, my dear ones, you're using your God-given power to make the problem, so-called problem, much larger. And you need not do this if you can remember that within you is the spark of God, and if you allow this divine being that dwells within you, it has the answers to all things, and love is the key. Fear is the only problem. When we are confronted with these so-called problems, we allow fear to interfere. Fear enters in to our thoughts, to our emotions, and it is a poison, my dear ones. It is like a poison that enters your system. Love is the answer, divine love. When you can believe in yourself enough to love yourself, and to love the God within you, and to practice doing this until it becomes a pattern that displaces the old pattern of concentrating on the problem, then you can be free. You can be free to rise above the surface view and see the truth from the higher point of view. As you are looking through the physical five senses from the surface point of view, you see distortion, you see illusion, you see all the muddled thinking of mankind's thoughts down through the centuries, and it is not pleasant to see this. But when you can relax and be at peace and know within you the life force that you are is God, you can raise your consciousness above and beyond the physical. You can be free of all this accumulated distortion from the surface point of view. Whatever you can do to remind yourself of this, to immediately turn loose of trying to deal with this so-called problem on the physical plane, from the physical plane and the physical self. Do it. Have something that reminds you that you have no power within the little self, but you have all power through the God self. My dear ones, when you become acquainted with that divine being that you are, when you learn to go within and really become acquainted, have that personal contact with your divine self, you will know that you are never alone, that you are always at one with God, and all the power of the whole universe is there for you to use. It seems so simple when we talk about it, but I know that it is not that easy, and it is not that easy because of the habit patterns of thinking that you have accumulated over many lifetimes, the habit patterns of fear, the habit patterns of feeling lack. And you see, the masses on this plane at this particular time do have these feelings at all times. They have it 99.9% of the time. And when you are surrounded with this, and you let your guard down, then all of this comes in upon you. Some of you have made great inroads on your soul's growth, and you are now able to hold yourself above this. But remember that you need not deal with any so-called problem. You need not deal with it from the physical self. When you can know within yourself that you have all the answers through divine love, through the power of God within you, when you believe in yourself. When we are programmed and conditioned to be afraid, then we do not believe in ourselves. We feel lack. We feel fear. And I would have you to remember that you need not have these feelings. They are just patterns of thinking because they are repeated over a long period of time. When you can, with your reasoning conscious mind, remember that they are just patterns, then you can release yourself to the divine being within you and rise above this and see life from a much higher point of view. You must remember, though, to do this as soon as possible. When something comes your way that is unpleasant, and you allow it 5 minutes, let us say, of concentrating on the problem, then it has quite a hold upon you, and you have allowed your divine power to create negativity and fear that surrounds you and has a hold upon you. Even then, if you remember and can release to the higher self and send God's love into these thoughts, into these feelings and moods and attitudes, even then, my dear ones, you can shake free from these old patterns. And every time that you do rise above these things, you have a little more power for the next time that comes along. Every time that you overcome, you have more power for the next time when you are confronted with such things as you move through your days. Let us speak about believing in yourself. When you are children, you are taught to walk and to talk and you go to school, and if you do well, then you feel good about yourself. But if you make mistakes and you are scolded about them, and you feel bad about yourself, this begins a pattern when you're very young. And this pattern continues into your adulthood, even if you are not consciously aware of it. And when something comes along that triggers these old patterns, then you feel the lack, you feel empty, you feel fearful, and you know not why. It is just the old patterns that are reinserting themselves. Those of you who have come to the classes and who have studied and have done your homework can see the value in being consistent in doing your homework. Because when you do your homework, it is reinforcing the truth, the divine truth, in your conscious and your subconscious levels of mind. And this, on a continuous basis, will eventually erase the old patterns that some of you call karma. All that karma is, my dear ones, are patterns of thinking. There can be positive karma and there can be negative karma. But the negative karma is what you think of most of the time, because it is this that you have to balance out. And it is just a misunderstanding about life. It is not that you are evil or that you are bad. It is that you misunderstood. And when these misunderstandings become a habit pattern, then the fear comes in to interfere, and you are caught in a trap, so to speak. And it does have an effect on your ability to think with clarity. It has an effect on your chemical balance in your physical body, and this has an effect on your nervous system. You see, my dear ones, when you are affected in one way, it affects the whole being that you are. Now, to counteract this is to prepare before these things come upon you. For example, when you awaken in the morning and you begin your day, if you can remember to send God's love ahead into the day, if you can remember to make contact with that divine being within you and feel good about yourself before you begin your day, before you get out your door or whatever you're doing, if you can make that contact with the higher self and start feeling good about yourself and knowing the truth and being grateful for all the beautiful things that you have in life, when you can do this, then you are believing in yourself. And when you believe in yourself, you're believing in life. When you believe in life, you're believing in God. And when you are believing in God, you're believing in all of life and all of the individuals, expressions of life that you call other people. You see, my dear ones, when someone seems to give you a bad time or something happens that causes feelings that are not loving between you and someone else, it is just a matter of misunderstanding the real truth, no matter whether it is on your part or whether it is on their part. And I tell you this truly, if you immediately send God's love into it and release it to God and go about clearing your thinking by not allowing yourself to dwell on the so-called problem, but dwell on the answer. And my dear ones, divine love is the answer. No matter how powerful it seems to be, no matter how big a problem it seems to be, love is the answer, and enough love will take care of it. Maybe not right then, when you are in the midst of it, but if you will relax and be at peace and just think of that God being that lives within you, and that this physical plane is just a plane of illusion, a play on a stage, and that this is not really real, and that this individual that seems to be angry with you is really not angry with you, but they are upset with themselves about something. This is the truth, my dear ones. Almost always, when someone is directing anger toward you, or something that is less than loving, it is because they need love. They are upset within themselves, and they know not what to do. And you are handy, maybe, so they take it out on you. When you can remember this, and immediately send them God's love, this is what they need, and greet them with a smile, even if they continue to be angry with you. Continue to be cordial, and to help them in every way that you can. When you can do this, my dear ones, you have passed one of the great tests on this plane, for you are doing what your Master has told you to do, is to love your enemies. You truly have no enemies, but if this is what the word means, is when someone has a disagreement with you, or angry with you, or has ill will toward you, it is because they are upset within themselves. They are upset about something that is going on within them, and they do not realize this, but you can realize it. You can understand it, and you can fix it by sending them love, and immediately know the truth, and not allowing yourself to return anger with anger, but return love. This is the answer, my dear ones. It is not always easy, but when you can do this, you see you have risen above this physical plane of illusion. You are in command. You are the master of yourself, and you can mold and shape your life the way you want it. But when you become upset with others because they are upset with you, you are letting this control you. You are letting fear and anger control you, and you are not the master. You are allowing yourself to wallow in the mire of the physical plane, and you are letting the little self take charge and allowing it to distort your life. Let us pause for a moment and go within and take some deep breaths and allow ourselves to relax and to consider what has been said and have a short quiet time. We have many subjects that are related to other subjects, and I think you recently had a class on self-worth, and this is very closely related. This evening, this topic of believing in yourself. When you believe in yourself, then you are giving out love to life. because you are loving yourself, and you are life. When you remember to do this, it gives you a great advantage of learning to be happy and content and fulfilled with yourself and with life. But when you are doubtful about yourself and about the things that are happening around you, then you are clouding the issues, and you're allowing darkness to make everything much more confused. As a student of life, as a student of learning, when you come to this center, you have come to learn and to grow. Learn to know that God dwells within you. He is the life force that you are. And you can use this God power any way that you choose because God has given you free will. You can use it to be upset and angry and distorted in your thinking, or you can use it to love yourself, to believe in yourself, and to believe in life, and allow the beautiful things to happen in your life. Let us take a time for a while to let you ask questions this evening. When you ask questions, this helps to bring more answers. It helps us to tune in with you and give you the understanding through words as best we can. Are there questions this evening? Yes.
Is it possible to teach your little self to not be nagging or to...
Yes, this is what you're in the process of doing, is lifting up your little self. When you do your homework, as your teacher Donald admonishes you to do, it is teaching your little self to move higher in consciousness. It is teaching your little self to remember, to not instantly react in a negative emotional way, but to stop and think and allow yourself time to decide whether you want to react in a loving way or a negative way. The little self is a part of you. It is that part of you that is in attunement with the physical plane, that goes about doing the work. It is your physical self. The God self dwelling within you is silent. It does not demand anything of you. It waits until you ask for help because of your free will. Your little self does not wait. It immediately barges in, and the old saying, barges in where angels fear to tread. And so it continually reacts in a negative way until you have trained it to be obedient, as you would train your pet to be obedient. Your little self is more like an animal. It is, take a small child, for example. When the baby is born, it does not know what life on your plane expects of it. And until it is trained, then it goes about like an animal, you might say. And so it is with the little self. When it has been given free rein over a period of time, then it is more difficult to train it. In your new age, you will find that the entities who are incarnating bring their understanding with them more and more all the time, and they will know as babies, as small children, the truth, and the adults will learn from the children instead of the other way. Does this help your understanding?
Yes, thank you.
Are there other questions this evening?
How often do you really have to ask for help when you say you have to ask your own self?
Ask as often as you need to, my dear one. If you have to ask 1,000 times a day, then continue to ask for help until you can open up to it. You see, it is the strength of your belief in yourself that makes the difference. When you ask for help and you still allow the little self to be in control, then you see the free will is a very important law that God has set into motion that he cannot override and will not. And those who do override your free will are making an error. That when you ask for help and do not seem to get it, it is because that you are not completely releasing. You are not giving up. And the little self is still like the wild animal. It is taking the control, and it takes time when you first begin to learn how to release. And when you ask for help and it doesn't seem to come, continue to ask for help, but stop and relax your body and think of peace and the things that you have been given to do to help you, and feel the presence of God within you. As Donald has taught you, prime your pump. Use your inner image to help you to rise above the so-called problem that brings about fear and distrust. Does this help your understanding? Yes. It is not easy to overcome some things. For some people, one thing is easy, and for other people, other individuals, it is more difficult. And it is because that you have had this for a long time, and it is ingrained. You must learn to be patient with yourself, but continue to believe in yourself no matter how many so-called mistakes that you make, no matter how much that you feel unworthy. You are programmed on this physical plane to feel unworthy, to feel lack, and it is difficult to turn loose of the race thoughts. The race thought is those thoughts that have been thought over and over and over by the masses of people over centuries of time, and they are prevalent in your atmosphere. And when you're operating from the surface level, then you are open to this. For example, I have given this as an example many years ago. Think of yourself as an island of light. And when you allow one negative thought to enter into your mind, you have allowed a chink in your armor, and it comes in and brings all of its cousins with it. And so then your island of light is not completely light. It has a little chink in the armor. And if you allow this to stay and you entertain it, then your island of light grows dimmer. And sometimes the light is not there. When you are troubled, when you feel despair, try to sit down and relax yourself if you have the opportunity to do this, and just be still and take some deep breaths and ask God to cleanse you of all past negation, and ask God to allow you to feel His presence within you. Ask Him to allow you to feel His love. And my dear ones, if you do this, you're opening up to the God being that you are, and you're allowing the God within you to come forth to give you help. Ask 1,000 times, if that's what it takes, 1,000 times a day, over and over, and you will win out. You see, my dear ones, in true reality, there's nothing but God in the whole of life. But you see, God has given us the ability as co-creators with Him, and we can create darkness and fear and doubt and all these other things. And when we have made a pattern of thought of fear and mistrust and lack of belief in ourselves, then we have to overcome this pattern. It is like some of you have overcome smoking or some other thing like this, and you have been addicted to it, and it is difficult to turn it loose. But if you persist and are real serious about it, then you can be free from it. And it is the same thing with doubts about yourself and about life, and mistrust in life, mistrusting other people. I think you had some comments on this last week about trust. You know, you have no right to put anything on anyone, let alone trust. And when you mistrust someone else, it is because you mistrust yourself and you feel the lack within yourself. Often through the day, think about believing in yourself, believing in God, believing in life. For when you do believe in yourself, you're believing in life, not just part of life, but all of life and the whole universe. And every one of you are one with all of life. Are there other questions this evening?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've asked this question before, but I need to be refreshed. About believing in yourself. Some people seem to believe in themselves so much that they become arrogant and, again, set in their way that everything they believe in is their way. And, you know what I'm saying, 100% their way, and can't go any other way.
Yes, this is believing in the little self. The little self is vain and would have its way, and it is the opposite of humility, when pride is the opposite of humility. And when you are proud of yourself, you see it is the little self that has to have this false front to put up, this false veneer that comes through as illusion, and it is not real. When you truly believe in yourself, it is the God within you that you believe in, and you give that power to God, not to the little self. Now, remember that I've said many times that life force follows thought, and whatever you give thought to, you give power to. And feelings, moods, attitudes, desires, all of these things come under the heading of thought. And whenever we give thought to the little self and say, what a great boy am I, and feel this pride in our physical self, then we are misdirecting our understanding, and we are on the way for a downfall. We're on the way to being tripped by our own misconceptions of where we should put our love and our trust. Do you understand? Yes. It is a good question, and it does need to be clear, because there are fine lines sometimes between who you are believing in and who you are giving your power to. Are there other questions this evening? Let us talk for a moment about giving our power away. When we believe in ourself, in the God Self, then we are giving the power to God to work through us and to manifest through us. God is divine, has all knowledge and all wisdom, all power and all ability. And when we allow God to do this, he can manifest this through us and literally do all these things, even as the Master did when he walked this plane. When we give our power to the little self, the physical conscious self, then we are giving our power away to vanity, and it is a false thing. And we do this because we do not understand. We are not acquainted with the God within us. We do not believe in ourselves. And so we have to put up this false front to hide behind. And you have seen this in others, I'm sure, and sometimes in yourself. There are people who have a fixation on this, and they cannot talk about anything about how great they are and how much they have done. And it is immediately discernible to almost everyone that they do have a problem, a fixation on the little self, because they do not feel good about themselves. When we do not feel adequate, we feel the feeling of lack, and it doesn't matter whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in our work, or whether it's just within ourselves and our relationship with life. It is the little self that is taking control. I am talking a lot about this tonight, and you may think this is a little negative session, but it is important that you understand, that you realize who you are giving your power to, who you are believing in. Are there other questions this evening?
Yes.
Yes.
I have I get confused about when I give my power away to, first, there's people that, I don't know, seem that, like you fall in and out of love quickly. That kind of giving away of power. And then the giving away of your power to those that you trust, such as a teacher, say in school, or a spiritual teacher. I mean, how much is too far in the way that you become dependent on what somebody says or is teaching you? I mean, I'm confused there.
Yes. In the first place, my dear one, you should depend on the God within you. And when you hear something said from this channel or anyone else, if it does not strike a chord of truth within you, then do not accept it. Put it on the shelf and leave it for a while. Do not become dependent on others. Be open to learn and to hear the guidelines that are given you, but always check with yourself, your inner self, to see if that is right for you at this particular time. There are times when it is not right for you, and it is not wrong, but it is just not the right timing for you to get into that. Maybe it is a little too deep at that time. And so you should put it on the shelf and wait until you can reach that level of consciousness where you can understand it. Try not to mistrust other people, because you have no right to expect anything from anyone, no matter who it is. In true reality, your life is between you and the God within you, and no one else. When you can truly understand this, and realize that everyone is doing the best they can at the moment with their past conditioning, then you can give them the freedom to make mistakes, even when they mislead you, or seem to mislead you, I should say. They are doing the best that they can. Do not put your trust in the arm of flesh, is the saying that is from the Bible, but put your trust in the God within you. When you do this and listen with the inner ear, then you will recognize the truth. But when you are listening from the outer ear, or looking with the outer eyes, they are dual. And in true reality, there is no duality. This is an illusion of the physical plane. And when you put your trust in duality, then you will be more confused, because it will let you down. Everything that is on this physical plane is in a state of deterioration, is it not? And so it is here today and gone tomorrow. So you cannot depend on the illusions of this physical plane. Now let us talk about relationships and clear this up in your thinking. When you relate to someone else, as a lover, or just as a friend, or whatever, you should relate to them with freedom. Freedom for yourself and freedom for them. You have no right to put anything on anyone else. And when you expect certain things from other people around you, you are misdirected, because this is not the way that life is. Everyone is here on this physical plane to learn and to grow. They are here to make mistakes, as you call them, and to learn and grow through these mistakes. So, in a relationship, there should be complete freedom. And if you put your trust, or give in some of your songs, I give my heart to you, this is a misdirection. Your heart belongs to God, my dear ones. And this is where you are coming from. This is where you live, at the center of God all the time. Now, God is in the other individual, but that individual is on this physical plane with a personality, and personality means the mask that they're wearing, the role that they're playing, and they are having trouble and problems, or opportunities is a better way to say it, to grow through. And they will make mistakes, and they will never live up to your expectations of them 100%, because they are an individual. Do you understand this? Yes. It is a hard lesson for some, for most, and the idea of falling in love and the Cinderella syndrome that you have called it recently, of Prince Charming coming on the white horse and carrying off the princess, and they lived happily ever after, is for higher dimensions, my dear ones, not for the physical dimension. And I would not discourage you in your relationships. I would encourage you to love others and but to give them freedom and to not expect certain things from them to make you happy, for you have no right to do this. You see, they are God beings, and God has given them free will. And if you expect certain things out of them, you are not giving them freedom. Are there other questions this evening? As always, it is true that when we start with a certain subject, it branches out into many other things, and it is because that everything is relative to everything else, and we are relative to each other because we are one with each other. We are one in life, and there is but one life, and we are one in this one life. So there are no such things as enemies. It is inconceivable to those who know the truth to think of anyone as their enemy, even if they are directing harm, so-called harm, towards them. They are misdirected in their thinking. And when you know the truth, they are indeed your brother and your sister. They are indeed one with you, no matter what they appear to be doing or saying. And when you can remember this and know the divinity within yourself, then you can truly believe in yourself and believe in life and believe in God, and judge not by appearances, outer appearances, but judge righteous judgment. And righteous means the right useness of the law. And the right useness of the law in this case would mean understanding that everyone is doing the best they can. They are here on this plane to learn and to grow through their so-called mistakes. God has given them the freedom to do this. You can do no less. And when you are disappointed in another, you see, it is misdirected thought, because you have no right to expect anything from anyone. This is a hard thing for some of you to accept, because you want that relationship to make you happy, to fall in love, and to find in another what you feel you lack in yourself. You see, my dear ones, when you go into a relationship with a feeling of lack, then all you have to share is your lack. But when you go into a relationship, giving them the freedom to be as they want to be, and allowing yourself the freedom to be as you are, and knowing that they and you both are doing the best you can, then there need not be hard feelings. There need not be hurt feelings. And you need not take back your love. Are there other questions this evening?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is having hopes the same thing as having expectation?
Yes. You don't have the right to hope for another or for them to do anything for you, because you do not know their patterns. You do not know what they came to learn this time. They made a plan with God's helpers, called the Lords of Karma, before they were born, to learn certain things in this period of time that you call an incarnation. And whatever it is that they came to learn, you do not know what it is. It may be that they have a terrible accident and are crippled for life. This may be a part of their plan before they are born. And this is what they learn from. My dear ones, you did not come to this plane to be happy, to be rich, to be comfortable. And there is nothing wrong in being happy and rich and comfortable. But you came here, your primary goal is to learn and to grow and to move into a higher state of consciousness. And whatever it is that it takes for you to do this, this is what you came for. Does this help your understanding?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yes. These are hard lessons that we are talking about this evening for most on this plane, because it is confusing, because they want things to make them happy. They reach out for another individual, for money, for fame, to bring it into their life. And my dear ones, this is going the wrong direction. If you want to be at peace, and if you want to find love, go within yourself. Live from within out, instead of from without in. And if you can understand this, then this will help you in so many ways as you go along this path called Earth, and you will be able to understand and learn your lessons quickly and be at peace about what others are doing or not doing, about how the world is going, and about the situations that happen around you. You have been a good class tonight, and we have brought many things to light, and it is such a joy to be with you. Remember that we are always with you. You are never alone, that our love is there to help and to guide you, that God's light is there, shining ahead of you on your path. Remember this, my dear ones, and send love to us often from this side of the veil. This helps us to help you more because of your free will. God bless you, and good evening. Let us think of ourselves as coming together in the physical as we have in spirit, and bringing the spirit of love down to the physical plane by holding hands, allowing divine love to flow through this circle and around this circle, gathering momentum and building up in power, filling this room, spreading out over this city, and covering this planet. Let us think of God's love going into all the troubled spots in the world, to all the world leaders, to all those places where darkness abounds. Let us think of God's love lighting up these troubled spots and those who are involved in these troubled spots. Let us think of God's love going ahead of us into this week, into our every thought, word, and deed, into every situation, into every encounter. And let us remember that God's love is there waiting for us as we step from moment to moment, going along the path. Let it be a path of light and love. Thank you, Father. Well, what do you think of this lesson tonight?
I learned a lot.
Yes. I never realized before that giving even something as seemingly innocent as giving someone a book in the hopes that they'll see a better way of life, that wouldn't be the same as expecting something.
Expecting them to change. Yeah.
Well, you could give them something now and just don't expect it.
Yeah. It depends on your motive, doesn't it? Yes. If you give it to them in love and release it, then they read it all right. If they don't, well, it's all right.
Well, I didn't give it that way.
Oh.
I saw them reading. I saw them reading a lot of trashy books on evil and all kinds of stuff. So I came with some of my book.
Yeah. Whenever we learn the truth, we want everybody to have it. But everyone has their own timing. You have to remember that.
A lot of what you said and applied to my day today and had a really rough day. I keep saying she.
And maybe where your pain's coming from, too.
Yeah.
Well, Paul. I didn't know whether I was getting in the way tonight or not. It seemed at times it was, but maybe
Yeah.
come through pretty clear.
Yes, it did.
Well, Ella and I are old friends for a long time, so we should have a good rapport by now. Mark, you want to talk about your class? I was going to ask you when you're going to start your class. This on Thursday, next Thursday. Well, yes, I'm sorry. The class that you conceived came through you anyway.
All we're going to do is talk about enchantment.
Pardon?
All I'm going to do is talk about some enchantment.
Yeah. Oh, that's a lot. That's not just all. That's a bunch. Are we going to have the old booklets ready? Has some too. Yeah. Okay.
What is that, Mark? Go Thursday.
And it's open to everyone, isn't it? Yeah. Discussion group about that. And you're going to pick out one of the channelings. And
Yeah, we'll probably just start with one channel. See how long it takes and where things come.
Yeah.
So I have expectation. But on
8:30 on Thursdays.
Cuts.
That's tomorrow night. Or no,
Next week.
no, we have one more class.
No,
No,
both
no.
classes. We just decided to
We
take
decided to
back.
skip a week. Yeah, I see. All right. So it's a week from tomorrow night.
The night before the retreat guy.
That's right. And we have our retreat on the 9th, Thursday.
70. So when they come back, not see she, glow.
This will be, that'll get us glowing before we go.
That's true.
If there was one thing that he talked about tonight about elemental self, and
That Eluha talked about, you mean?
The university. I did say it. He's quick. The little self. I've been trying to think of the little self more as non-existent, actually. Because if we really are one, which we are, and if we really live from that higher one, the little self means absolutely nothing. And therefore, giving it power by saying this was negative or this wasn't positive action, is actually opposing your choice. So why not just...
If you're at the point when you can see this, then that's good. But if you're not at that level of consciousness where you can understand that, well, it can be confusing.
Yeah, Just one of your people in your group said, let's kill a little self at one of your...
Oh, yes. Doris said, let's kill the little self. And Eluha said, no, you lift the little self up with you. The little self is the one that gets confused and feared. And
I guess just taking that introductory statement out as A Course in Miracles and says, nothing real can we dread. Well, obviously our little selves can fret.
yes, that's right.
And nothing unreal exists. So,
But since most people on this plane do live through the little self, and we have classes like this to learn that there is no such thing as the little self, and then we have to start from where we are and to deal with it in that way.
But we get power to our little selves from the time we're born, I think. Don't we? I mean, negativity, in the environment, negativity gives the power to
We bring in certain
create the habit patterns, everything else. So, until we're above that, we always have to deal with it. So I feel that I try to, I'm a friend with my little self.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't dislike. I like it, I have it easier. I just feel that we get along good, and I don't have too much of a problem as far as
one of the biggest mistakes we make, I think, is resisting the mistakes that we make, And the Master said, resist not evil, but overcome evil with good. And I think any so-called mistakes, anytime we go against the grain of life, that can be considered evil. We have put this word evil in great big caps, and made it a scary thing.
Which brings to mind a question I thought about afterwards, is that is it to do with the fact that the acceleration of is getting so much faster of reaching the higher vibration that there is so prevalent? I can't go by anywhere that doesn't have some of those books on, monsters and Dracula and creeps and all kinds of stuff, and you find how people buying them all.
And they sell. Yeah, the spooky movies sell,
Right.
don't they?
The movies and the books.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very, very prevalent. And is that why?
That's where people's consciousness is.
When you were saying that, you were going to say there's some books on metaphysics everywhere. As you were saying that, I guess I was listening. And then when you said monsters and you're...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking you're going to say too.
This, when I was, and it's become very obvious because as I'm in the last 3 years, I've been moved to about 6 different offices. And no matter what group I'm working with, they seem to be everywhere. They seem to be multiplying by themselves, like rabbits.
I don't see any of that anymore. One my friend who's talking with her daughter wanting to see horror pictures. I'm like, I'm sorry, they can have a lot of pictures all day. You should get abilities every week. And she's telling me about it. Stop, because I hadn't heard anything about that on.
At the same time, I've noticed that I've also moved into a group that's a lot more open to metaphysics and that sort of thing too. But it's still the other side of it is there too.
I guess that I'm spoiled because I don't get away from here very often. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, which brings to mind another question is that, like, my little one, she read it, I read it with her, and we went through the questions and everything on the great me and the little me.
Uh-huh.
But I think it was last week sometime that she was upset about something, and I said, well, who are we being right now? And she says, I'm the little me, and I don't care, and I don't believe your dumb old book anyway. So my question is that even as young as she is at 8 years old, does the little me feel threatened already by
Yeah.
the learning that she's receiving.
Yeah. And that's who's talking, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, before those books came out, I think we had a saying, who's talking, whenever you catch somebody being negative, who's talking? The little self or the higher self. And you should be grateful that an 8-year-old even read the book.
Why is
She knows the truth anyway. She just wanted to wallow in her misery a little bit.
Yes. Because we all do some point or another. But, I understood that's what she was doing. But at the same time, I find sometimes I just have to laugh at myself because I can remember the old me that would not have reacted this way.
Mm-hmm.
The old me that had a tendency to want to just, go like that. But anymore, I just say, okay, that's what you want to be. Is that's who you feel like right now? That's okay. It's becoming easier to do that.
There was a lot said tonight about giving each other freedom when it relationship came out tonight, didn't it? Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Straight the thing. That's another place where I've noticed a great improvement is that I no longer expect anything and I'm receiving a lot more than when I did expect.
Yeah. Yeah, when we demand something of someone, they pull back automatically, And I remember when I was young, felt this way and didn't understand why they couldn't do what I wanted them to do to make me happy,
And yet you turn around and say, you can't expect me to be what you want me to be.
Yeah, having to ask queries.
Interesting class tonight. So shall we call it a class?
It's definitely